So, I stopped doing the laundry. Yep. I stopped washing the dishes, taking out the garbage, all my chores. I even stopped brushing my teeth. Because I heard somebody say this last week that I'm supposed to live each day as if it was my last. And I tell you what, if today's my last day, I'm not wasting it doing chores. I heard a podcast just recently where the whole podcast was based upon the sentence, what would you do if you only had 1 week left to live? And I know that's a term, a sentence that a lot of people, a lot of coaches like to use to motivate us, but I'm sorry, that just seems morbid to me to walk around going, if I only had 1 week left to live. Could you imagine if we all lived according to that? If we all decided we're going to live as though this is our last day, it's our last week to live. I tell you what would be happening. If every one of us thought it was our last day left to live, we'd be running around in a panic, screaming,
We're all gonna die! We're all gonna die! We're gonna die, man!
At least I know I would.
This is HappyLifeStudios.
This message is for you. This message is for you. This message is singular to you. It's not for anybody else. It's not hard to get. It's not hard to get. It's not hard to understand.
Hey, are you happy?
Now that's a great question.
Does your sun set high? Does your sun set high?
Welcome to HappyLifeStudios.
Hey, are you happy? If you're not, then why? If you're not, then why?
We're here to help your life be happier.
What's up, Happy Lifer? Thanks for joining us today. I am so happy that you did. And I got to ask you, why are you listening to this podcast? I mean, if there's only 1 week left to live, do you really want to be listening to this podcast? Well, I would want to think that you would, but if this is your last day on earth, then why are you listening to my podcast? Why would you be listening to any podcast if it's your last day? And there's so many people out there that use that line to motivate people. Live as though this was your last day on earth. What if I only had 1 week left to live? What would I do? Today I want to talk to you about wasting time and living in rhyme. Or should I say, continue to talk about living in rhyme, because we started it in our last episode. And I've been thinking on it ever since. So I want to talk a little bit more about living in rhyme. I really want to talk about wasting time and how it's not only needed, but it's essential. But first I want to talk to you, continue to talk to you about living in rhyme. Because I think life is like a poem. Like Chase Smith, aka Rhymefest, said, quote, I've discovered that poetry cannot only be read, but lived out. My life is a poem. Well said. That's what I'm talking about. Gandhi said, quote, my life is my message, end quote. ZenHabits.net elaborates on Gandhi's statement and really, I think, nails what I mean by life is poetry. Your life is a poem. My life is a poem. It's a work of art. Listen to what ZenHabits.net says and see if this doesn't sound like a poem to you. Quote, each of us lives a life that expresses who we are, reacts to the world around us, shows our passions, reflects our deep river of feeling and being. We might sing out in joy through our words and actions and expressions. We might hide in fear and pain. We might lash out in anger. Everything we do, everything we are, expresses. Gandhi's message was his life, and yours is your life. What message are you giving the world through your actions, how you live, how you treat others, what you accomplish, how you choose to be, every moment of every day? Are you an angry rant, a ballad, an epic poem, perhaps a sonnet, a limerick, a haiku? If your life is a poem, what do you want it to say? What would you rather leave out? What will the essence be? Enjoy each moment as the perfect syllable. Recognize the lyrical in the everyday and sink your teeth softly into that cold, delicious fruit. End quote. Well said. That's what it means to live a life in rhyme. For a life to be a poem. Like they said, recognize the lyrical in the everyday, each moment. Recognize the rhyme in each moment that we live. I mean, it's just like a poem when they talk about our actions and expressions. We might hide in fear and pain. We might lash out in anger. We might love. We might sing out in joy. But everything we do, everything we are, expresses our life is like a poem. As I was wasting time last week, I was playing a game, Word Cookies, on my phone. And one of the words I solved was the word falsehood. When I looked up what that word falsehood means, I do that a lot when I waste my time playing my games on my phone. Oftentimes I feel led on a certain word and I click on it and see all the different meanings that it means to try to kind of increase my vocabulary, but also to catch the poetry, the lyrical of that moment that I'm in right there. And when I looked up the word falsehood, and that was a big word back in the 18 and 1900s, but it's not used so much anymore. But falsehood means a state of being untrue. That's what it's like when our life doesn't live in rhyme. Merriam-Webster defines falsehood as absence of truth or accuracy. Is my life accurate? Is what I think, what I say accurate to my actions? Am I living in rhyme? Do those go together? Dictionary.com defines falsehood as a lack of conformity to truth or fact. Does my life conform to itself? Does my thoughts, my actions, my desires, do they conform to each other? Am I living in rhyme? Conformity, defined by Merriam-Webster, is agreement in form, manner, or character. Does my life agree with itself? Am I living in rhyme? Does my character line up with what I want my character to be? Does my character line up with my manner? Am I conformed? Am I in agreement? Are they in agreement with each other? When there's a poem, all the words fit. And depending on how many words you have in one sentence, really lines up with how many words you have in the other sentence. There's a rhyme to it. There's a rhythm to it. All the words fit together. Our life should be the same way. And when our life is not in rhyme, when everything doesn't fit together, it's because something is false somewhere. And I said this in last week's episode, if I remember correctly anyway, but it was about when I was taking a personality test and they said, take this personality test twice. The first time you take it, think about your home or your home life. And the second time you take it, think about your work life or vice versa. It doesn't really matter, but take it twice. But each time you take it, one time think about your regular life, and the other time think about your going to work life or whatever. And those two should line up for the most part. They're not going to be exact, but if they're opposite from each other, if they're, two different personalities, it's kind of schizo in our brain, right? We're not living in rhyme somewhere. Something is false. There's a falsehood somewhere. There's not an accuracy. We're not living in harmony with ourselves. I mean, there's so much to our life. We need to see our life as a whole of all these things. It's all the parts working together, even when it appears they aren't. Like in poetry or poems or songs, even movies and other works of art. There's always that conflict and resolution. But even when there's conflict, that's a negative, scary, like ZenHabits.net talked about, living out in joy, singing out in joy, or hiding in fear and pain. Those go together. They're part of the same story. They're part of the same story of our lives. We have the conflict in our lives. But does the resolution line up with that? Because in a poem, when it can get negative and dark, there's always another reaction to that, response to that. your life is deep. There's meaning to it. It isn't just some, it's not a haiku. It's not some cute little limerick. Your life is more than that. And so there's a good moments where some days feel like a limerick, where some moments feel like a haiku, a cute little thing that rhymes, right? But truth is, our life is so much bigger than that. There's depth to it. Sometimes it's writing your life's rhyme like you would a poem. What just happened to me? I'm going to respond to that instead of react to that. What kind of a person do I want to be? How do I want to respond to that thing that happened to me? Or am I just going to react to it? So sometimes we're writing our life's rhyme like a poem, and other times we're just responding to what life is throwing at us. So when life throws something dark at us, do we respond to that, or do we react to that? Are we living in rhyme? Do our beliefs and our habits and our desires and our goals and our actions and our mannerisms and our habits, do they line up? Now, no one's going to be perfect, right? But is that something that we are working on? Are we trying to live in rhyme, or is there falsehood in there somewhere? Talked with Happy Lifer Brad this last week, and he went on a break. He went on a vision break for weeks, and he came back with finding out what his why was. And it changed everything for him. When he found out what his why was, and he was reading a book about finding your why, and then all of a sudden the book got into all these homework questions. He's like, I don't want to do homework. I just want to, And then he was reading, I think the secondary book, What's the Why of Your Business? And so he started reading that, or what's your purpose statement, or whatever it was. And he was getting into that until all of a sudden it started wanting all this homework as well. And he's like, I don't want to do homework right now. I just want to kind of figure this out, right? So when he took this break, this sabbatical, and he just got away from it all, the why came to him naturally. Why? Because he was searching for it. Because he was looking for it. He was trying to make his life rhyme. He was trying to live in harmony within himself. And the why just came to him. I think if we pay attention, the why will come to us. It's not something that we have to force and we have to strive to find. I think it's already inside of us. Like we talked about the leaves when they change color in the fall. Those bright colors are already inside of us. But I believe that the purpose, the why, is in every one of us. When we need to find what our rhyme is, what kind of a person do we want to be? What kind of person do you want to be? Is your life living in rhyme with that? For instance, asking questions like, what's your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you love to do? What do you dislike doing? What do you hate doing? What are you good at? What do you get passionate about? What really makes you happy or even makes you angry? Does injustice make you angry? That's part of your rhyme. Or the question, if you could do anything and money wasn't an issue, then what would you do? Who are your heroes? Why are they your heroes? What are your goals? What are your values? Stop and think about those things. And then does your life line up with that? Do your responses line up with that? Life being a poetry means there's some dark things in there. There's some dark stuff in our life. There's some difficult things that happen. There's struggle. A good poem, like a good story, is going to have struggle to it. What do we do with that? How do we respond to that? Does my life line up with my goals, my values, my dreams? Does my heart rhyme with my brain? Do my thoughts and my actions, do my desires and my responses, my mannerisms, do they line up? Am I living in rhyme? And that's what living in rhyme means to me. I've only been thinking about it for a couple of weeks. I haven't found anything online about living in rhyme, and I don't know if anyone else has talked. I'm sure people have talked about it, since mankind has been around, but I haven't found anything on people talking about living in rhyme. But I love the concept because your life is a poem. Your life is your message. What is your life saying? It is a poem. It's a work of art. So that's what living in rhyme means to me. But the thing I really want to talk about today is wasting time. Yeah, wasting time. But I don't want to talk about it from a way that we usually hear about it. I want to hit it from a whole different angle. I think wasting time is essential, and I'm not the only one who thinks that. So what did you think about that long pause that I put in there on purpose? Did you find yourself at some point wanting to know, did the podcast end? What's going? Why is there this long silence? Did it feel like it was wasting time to just have silence there? The pause is so important. The rest is so important. And so is wasting time. Wasting time is essential. I tell you why we need to waste time. Yeah. Because it's getting kind of hectic. Life is kind of hectic. And the antidote to hectic, the antidote to hurry, in my opinion, is wasting time. And you don't hear a lot of people talk about that. No one brags about how much time they might have played a game or brags about taking a nap, let alone 2 in a day. No one brags about sleeping in. So much of what we see is people pushing and hacks to be more productive. Everything's about more productive, at least in America. Everything is more productive. Do more, be more. Just do a little bit more. I was watching an NFL football game tonight, and one of the coaches was talking about after they lost their game, and he responded with, well, next time we're just going to have to do just a little bit more. And there's nothing wrong with improving ourselves. I want to talk about this in balance, obviously. Improving ourselves is very vital. It's very important. But it also can go too far. Always trying a little better, always trying a little better, always trying a little better. Don't waste any time. Just keep moving. What are we doing with this silence? Hold on a second. Sometimes wasting time is exactly what we need. And my whole life, I've been taught how wasting time is wrong. I've been taught how playing games on the phone or whatever is wrong, but my mind works differently. Every one of us works differently. And I tell you what, I need that break. I need Dane Bramage. We used to call it, are you Dane Bramaged? I mean, I need that mindless wasting time part because my brain never stops. Everybody's different, right? We're all built differently. We are all a different poem. We got to figure out how we work. For me, wasting time is essential. When I'm playing a game on my phone, I'm not thinking about all the other things that my brain is always thinking about. My brain is always going. And when I'm wasting time, my brain is focusing on what I'm wasting time on. And I need that downtime. I need that wasted time that a lot of people say I shouldn't have and that I wouldn't have if I was living as though this was the last week of my life. But I would hope that if this was the last week of my life, I heard someone say this years ago, and I've always wanted to live up to it ever since. I would hope that if this was the last week of my life, what would I be doing? I would hope that I would be doing the dishes and mowing the lawn and taking out the trash, doing the laundry, doing what I would normally do. I want to live my life in rhyme. I want to just keep doing the right thing every day. And I don't want to have to charge myself up and panic or fear or more production. It's okay, like I said, to keep pushing yourself, but there comes a moment where we've got to pull back and say, I don't have to push myself right now. It's okay to waste time. It's okay to take a nap. And in case you think I'm full of it, let me read to you something from Forbes.com. They've got a little bit of clout. They've got a little bit of weight. Forbes.com said this, and they say it so much better than I could, but they're saying the same thing. Quote, the truth is that there are essential benefits to people and businesses when organizations embrace the value of wasting time. As it turns out, people are not equipped to work 16-hour days or even perhaps 8 or 10-hour days while maintaining high productivity and consistent quality. The human brain can focus, but only for short periods. In between those focused sessions, people should be encouraged to waste a little time. End quote. If we want to be more productive, then we need to waste some time. And I'm not just saying that. Forbes.com is saying that. And they go on to say that, quote, long-term productivity that avoids burnout and exhaustion requires some amount of brain rest. And to get that kind of rest, you might need to waste a little time. To live in rhyme, you've got to waste some time. Look at that. I just wrote a poem there. Or is that a lyric? Is a haiku? I don't know. But poetry, when it's read correctly, it has pauses in there. It has, quote unquote, wasted moments in there. If you want to be more productive, then just read it fast. Read it faster. Just give me all the words and give me all the information. Then I can process it and I'll be done and I'll go move on to the next poem. Move on to the next thing. Hurry up and get this thing done so I can go on and be more productive. But poetry doesn't work like that. It's not about just regurgitating a bunch of words and thoughts. It's about the pauses. It's about the wasted, quote unquote, wasted moments. I'm not suggesting y'all go get wasted. That's not what I'm saying. But it's those pauses in there. Good poetry is going to have those spaces in there. And sometimes the longer the space is, the more it draws us into what's going to happen next. So wasting time is so important. People aren't talking about that. They're talking about do more, bigger, better, faster, stronger. And after a while, that's going to make you less productive. And it's going to eat at your soul. And it's going to ruin the poem. Poems have to have that moment. If you're living in rhyme, you need to waste some time. And like I said, please take this in balance, right? I mean, people could take this and go way too far with it, do nothing but waste time. I'm not suggesting that at all. But I am suggesting, just like Forbes.com is suggesting, that it's not a bad idea to waste some time. It's not a bad idea to do brainless activities sometimes. And we need to be able to brag more about, what did you do today? Nothing. I took a nap. I binged a show on Netflix. I did brainless activity because I think that that's healthy. When I was growing up, we always had Sunday afternoon drives. That's something people would do. And I think it would be so healthy if we did it again. Just got in a car and drove somewhere with no other point than to just drive. Of course, with the price of gas these days, and maybe not so much. But I think it's just important that we breathe and waste some time and there needs to be balance between productivity, more, drive, just do a little bit more, just do a little bit more, just do a little bit more. At some point, you got to breathe. You keep stretching a rubber band, after a while, it's going to break or it's going to lose its elasticity. You got to let the rubber band come back. There's a reason why there's a red lines on our RPMs on our car or whatever. In other words, when that needle, you're going too fast, if you keep it in the red all that time, after a while, you're going to wreck the whole engine. So there's nothing wrong with wasting a little bit of time if you want to live in rhyme. That is.
Make someone happy. Make just one someone happy. And you will be happy too.
Please take what I'm saying into balance. I'm not suggesting we be a couch potato 24/7, but I am suggesting that we are couch potatoes sometimes. Remember, life isn't perfect, but that doesn't mean it can't be happy.
StevoHays.
Thanks for listening. I hope that helped. I would love to hear any thoughts or comments. You can email us at podcast@happylife.studio, or you can call our Yo Stevo hotline, 425-200-HAYS, HAYS, 425-200-4297. I would love to hear some of your input on this as well. If we want to live in rhyme, we need to learn to waste some time.
StevoHays.